You are watching the Fayetteville Government Channel. Up next, full coverage of the latest meeting of the Environmental Action Committee. The Environmental Action Committee is composed of citizen volunteers and meets on the second Thursday of each month. The committee advises the City Council regarding environmental issues facing the City of Fayetteville and its residents. And now, the Environmental Action Committee.
So welcome to the Environmental Action Committee, and my name is Sarah Lewis, and I'm one of the Ward 4 City Council members. I'm also the chair of the Environmental Action Committee, and I'm so glad that you're able to attend this evening. Our agenda this evening, we're going to introduce ourselves, and then we're going to hear about the local foods map from Susan Drouillet, and then we'll have a presentation by Fayetteville, and we'll have some time for questions, and then some announcements, and then we'll close and keep you on time this evening. So I think we'll go around first and introduce ourselves. Go ahead.
You started someplace different.
I know, I tried.
You almost did it.
I almost did.
I sat in the hot seat. I should have remembered that. I'm Meredith Lewis. I work through the Energy Corps up at NWAC, and I am just a citizen at large on the committee here.
Very good.
I'm Susan Drouillet, a former Environmental Action Committee member, and I'm here to talk about the local food guide.
I'm Richard Russell. I'm a member of this organization. I'm one member from a science discipline. I have a geology degree and a background in civil design, sort of thing.
And I'm Jana Smith. I am also a member of the committee, and I'm the sustainability coordinator for Fayetteville School District as well.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm Mary Catherine Martinka. I'm a student at the University of Arkansas, and I'm here for my American National Government class.
Glad you came.
I'm James Proctor, also a student, and here for the same reason.
Thanks for coming. That's great.
And I'm Adrienne Schoenfield, and I'm an Energy Corps member, and I work for Fayetteville.
And I'm Denise Garner, and I also work with Fable.
Thank you for coming. All right. So I think, so Susan, as she mentioned, she is a longtime member of the Environmental Action Committee, recently has taken on some other focus in foci, is that what the word is? And it's especially focused on the local foods project that she started while a member of the EAC and has just taken off with it, and it's going great. And so we asked her to come and tell us about the status, and also to get you all to be thinking about if there's a role that this organization can play in helping to continue to move that forward. So thank you for coming, Susan.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking me. So I think we probably said this at a meeting in the fall, but we did publish our first guide in October, and here it is. A 8-page brief beginning guide for the Northwest Arkansas region, which would we're saying the 4 counties: Washington, Carroll, Benton, and Madison. And the guide it's a guide to farmers markets. Basically, the purpose of the guide is to bring together consumers and the producers and purveyors of local food to support our region economically, aesthetically, health-wise, sustainability, all of that. So we've included markets, farmers markets, farms, CSAs, that's community supported agriculture, and restaurants, and caterers and grocers, and so those are the categories, and I think they'll expand as the guide expands.
Okay.
Speaking of which, we're planning our next edition, spring 2012, and our aim is to get that out in June at the markets. Again, not just at the markets, but we'll have sort of a day that we present them at the markets. And Sarah, you had mentioned a couple times about the idea of having a proclamation by the mayor. I talked with Teresa. Teresa Maurer is the other co-facilitator for the project, and we were thinking that it might be really great to have something that would coincide timing-wise with the next edition, to help with publicity and just to get the word out.
Okay, so that's what. Okay.
So in terms of content or what that needs to say,
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk about
Okay.
all that.
So, and you know, so that's coming up.
We're hoping for early June, but
okay.
I don't know that we have a specific date yet.
June-ish. All right.
June-ish.
Is there a chance that it might be a month earlier so that it could coincide with Artisphere because they're doing a big food? They're doing a big food component this year and already want that information out on tables.
What's the date? Do you know?
Artisphere starts Earth Day, so it's the end of April, but probably the big food issue, or the big food component would be the 1st of May.
1st of May, okay.
Right.
Well, we actually initially had a May date and we've just pushed it back, so pushing it earlier.
Might be an
I'm
issue.
not sure if we can pull that off, but I'll propose it.
And it might be that Walton Arts Center could do something later, but I know the big push with the big food person probably is going to be that first week in May.
Okay, well, that's great, thanks. Are you all doing something then too?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll do a table with information, and there's a potential, depending on who they get and what their contract says, there's a potential for some fundraising as well, but
Okay.
or some awareness anyway,
Okay,
if not fundraising.
all right, well,
So-
that's great.
So we can
I'll get
connect.
in touch, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have, you know, they have one now, so we could put that out
Right.
and then say, make sure to look for it.
Right,
You know,
and
good
that's
Yeah.
certainly
Yeah.
that's certainly a
Yeah.
possibility.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That may be what ends up happening.
Ooh, cool.
Okay.
Yeah, we could definitely.
I didn't know how many you had left of that.
Well,
printing,
actually,
but
we don't have that many left from this printing, but we can print more. And also, it is available online too, so
Right.
anybody can go and print out their own copy right now.
right.
So, but that's great. Yeah, I'll get in touch with you,
Yeah,
Jason. We
sounds
can,
good. We can work that out. And I'll
Work
have
that
more
out, yeah.
details about what the event will look like.
Yeah, yeah.
But there will at least be some awareness in the, probably in that main entranceway.
To the
And
Walton
some-
Arts Center? Okay.
And some opportunity to do some education for community food.
Okay, that's great. Good, thank you.
Good
The
idea.
other festival type thing that we are going to be at is the Dig In Food Festival coming up.
Cool.
So we'll
I'm
have a table
excited
there.
about
We're
that.
sharing a
That's
table.
great.
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
we'll be there. What else did I wanna? It is at this point, a completely volunteer effort. And we just had a brainstorming meeting, and there were some folks from downtown Bentonville there, and they gave us a pledge and to help to defray the cost of production. So what we're hoping to do is work with the larger markets and see if we can get matching grants.
Yeah, awesome.
So yeah, that was really great to.
They're having a big event tomorrow by chance. Did you know that? Or you
Bentonville?
Downtown Bentonville is having a big luncheon thing tomorrow.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's very exciting, and we're just welcoming more input and more effort, more people to help us with it, both to collect content, to help with distribution, to help with design, so all of it. And our next meeting, we generally have our meeting the last Tuesday of the month here, actually right here. So our next meeting is February 28th, here from 7 to 9.
And you had recently, and you probably just mentioned that, was it a good turnout? You had kind of a brainstorming session?
We had a brainstorming session, and it was a small turnout, but a
Okay.
very good turnout.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good, and it went
I mean, very productive
productive.
turnout. Small
so, like,
group, very
decisions
productive.
were made.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, sort of after this one came out in October, we've sort of just laid low and rested for the winter. I mean, we've been meeting, but that meeting that we just had last week was new inspiration. So
And
it's
we'll be
great.
glad to post that on our page as well. If you want more people, if you've got plenty, then
Sure. No, we can use more help.
Okay.
Definitely. We have a sort of committed core group.
right.
But yeah, the more we have, and our goal, this is 8 pages, our goal is to, again, produce something simple, maybe twice as big. We just want to keep growing it, but not overwhelm ourselves, but just keep putting it out, just keep educating. Getting the word out.
In terms of design, I might have a sponsor to do that for you. So get a hold of me.
Okay, great. Thank you, Angie.
I'm saying they would do the design, I mean, they would sponsor the design work as in doing it for you. And then being called a sponsor for it.
Yeah,
So.
sure. Thank you.
And, do you meet in this room?
Generally, we do. Yeah. I think occasionally we've gotten bumped up to the 3rd floor, but I think the next meeting is here.
Okay.
And what's the website that it's available on?
NWA localfoodguide.org. And if you go to that site, then there's a little tag that says the guide. And you just click on that and it'll give you a PDF. Yeah.
May I ask you a question about your brainstorming session? Just maybe elaborate a few of the key ideas that were really helpful, kind of what you're looking at as far as going forward. Was it just kind of bringing up more farms or CSAs to your attention, or was it distribution ideas?
I think one of the main ideas was engaging, finding a way to get people engaged. You know, the seed pledge from Bentonville was to help with that.
Okay.
To help get, and you know, we haven't made any final decisions, so in terms of getting, like listing all the vendors from a particular market, but having that be the responsibility of the market.
Okay.
For instance, and then in terms of categories of farms or CSAs, we haven't made any decisions really.
Okay.
And I mean, those will all be included. Yeah. I don't know that that really answers your question, but.
It does a little bit. Just kind of deciding more who's responsible for what and how to get the most out of.
Who's responsible for getting the content or, well, the people, it's a group effort. Okay. So whoever shows up, I mean, really, the way our meetings have gone, I mean, for the past, what have we been doing this for now? A little over a year. Every month, every month we'll have, you know, the first meeting we had 15 or 17 people. It was great. Since then, we've had 9, 2, 5, 3. I mean, and every time it's just amazing. Like, okay, we're moving forward, and every time we just. So even with the brainstorming, we didn't know who would show up. And that's really, I mean, this is a very organic process. How you know, who shows up determines what's going to happen.
Gonna be in there.
I mean, really.
Is there a place on the website where our farmers can give you their information and
Not
stuff?
yet.
Okay.
Not yet, but that's a great idea. Yeah. Yeah.
So what is the best way to get in touch with you? Or if we post something on Feed Fable and tell them about this meeting and just let them know that the food guide is there. Most of them probably know, but we have some new farms too that probably want to be involved.
Yeah.
So they could contact you? Or,
Yep, and then we have a Gmail address too.
Okay, great.
Localfoodguide@nwa@gmail.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So that's probably what we need to put on
Yeah.
the page.
Yeah. Do you want me to email you that?
That'd be
so
great.
You have it?
That'd be
Okay.
great.
Okay.
I think Adrian brought some cards.
Oh, good. That'd be great. Thank
So,
you.
my question to the group is, to the committee here is, oh, no, you have one.
You put a wallpaper?
I've got some.
Maybe you can find Adrian.
Oh, and there was one other thing I wanted to add.
Okay.
Slow Food is helping with becoming our fiscal agent nonprofit umbrella. So we're gonna work on that. So we are ourselves not yet.
That's fantastic.
That's
what
important.
you need that pass through
Yeah.
money, somebody who can hold things.
Yeah. So that's another piece that's come into place.
That's great.
And don't forget, for Slow Foods and for the Local Food Guide, we can help write grants, and we can include you guys in grants that we're already writing for other programs, as long as it's involving community,
Yeah.
local foods, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So, and we'll try to keep that.
That's why we have this kind of.
Yeah, we'll try to keep that in mind as well as we're
Yeah, that's great.
writing grants, so.
Thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
So I guess.
Yeah, because we're, you know, really grassroots and getting to the point where, okay, to keep doing this, to expand it, it's gonna take money. Where do we get it? How do we manage it? You know, all of that. And then as it gets bigger and bigger, we will probably end up paying for design and production, and how do we do that? So all of this is really helpful. Thank you.
Super. And so I have a question about, and same line of thinking as connections, is wouldn't it be great if it's in the visitors center? And I wondered if it
has been.
It has been. Okay,
It has
great.
been. In fact, they're the folks who printed this one.
Okay.
Yeah, they donated the
Okay, so they
printing
have
for this.
them in there too.
Yeah, I don't know if
Okay.
they have them currently because
Okay.
when we did it in October, we had 1,000 printed.
Okay.
Now, again, I don't know if they printed more. If
But
they were out, yeah.
But they've been.
But yeah, they're
great.
definitely involved.
So, I guess my question would be, are you all supportive as a committee to pursue seeing if either the council or the mayor, and I would need to go through the channels to find out what's appropriate, but to do kind of a statement of support for this type of thing at maybe the Artisphere or something like in line with that.
Mhm.
And it could kind of be general and then endorsing those efforts. So the question is, are you supportive of me pursuing making that happen?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay.
I don't think we get to vote.
Part of
We're
it-
voting
Yeah. Okay. And the reason, so right now we don't have a staff liaison. So right now we have to kind of figure that part out. And they are hirings. They are interviewing for that position right now. So for the sustainability and strategic planning position. So that person will be our staff liaison. So that will help when that happens. But in the meantime, I can begin asking them the questions to see how
Yes.
that can come together. Okay, good.
Great, thank you.
And Christina in that office is also on the Fable.
Okay,
So she could
Yeah.
probably help.
okay.
And Sarah, would it be a proclamation that could be more broad in terms of the city of Fayetteville supports local food or something of that, and then maybe break down into specific things of local food guide and
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's going to be like a,
Yeah,
So
so
more
we're
of an
supporting the
umbrella.
local food efforts in general, and this is what's happening in our area.
yeah, so, and that's what, so just while we're filming, can we brainstorm some reasons? How does that relate to the Environmental Action Committee? So,
How much time do you have?
yeah, I totally get it. But can you
But
explain to people,
reducing
tell people
carbon
about why?
footprint.
Mhm.
So our food's grown closer to us and we eat it closer, so it's more environmentally sound practice.
Mhm.
Food's fresher. I mean, when you
So
pick
more
food
nutritious.
closer to its ripeness, it has more nutrients in it.
Yeah.
And it lasts longer. I mean, you know, if you're getting lettuce from California or lettuce from Fayetteville, it's just gonna go slimy first, so you're saving.
So you're reducing food waste.
Food waste.
It's bringing pieces of ground under close, careful care. People are not gonna be eroding their gardens, that's for sure.
Mhm. So more awareness of ecosystem services in some way, some ways that people are growing their own. kind of-
Likely they're thinking about the chemicals too, if
Mhm.
you're gonna be eating that food, so.
Mhm.
Preservation of farmland.
Preservation of
That's a
farm.
big one.
Mhm.
Also, water conservation, I think farmers are more interested in making sure that the water is there and reused in a way that can be sustainable and goes on forever.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's huge.
And then if you want to connect it to economics, helping our local people create their own businesses and their own farms and sell their own food to other local people, that's an economic incentive.
It is, and it connects to, then it makes environmental awareness and consciousness also an economically advantageous thing to do.
Right, and you can move that on to all the health issues too that go into that, which is another connection, which to me, health and environment are the same, but if we want to separate them, they can also be connected.
Very connected, and I would add to the social component of it and the community, and when you're, and just, this is a great example, this convening of different groups where then they find ways to network and build on their own projects, and then they find value in preserving the soil because they've built on their community because they've used the agriculture to bring them together. That's really exciting. So, thank
And
you.
then the education aspect too.
Oh, huge. Learning,
Okay.
yeah. So, says the teacher. That's right, very important.
That's
to bring a dark cloud, but just to make sure this doesn't have anything to do with organic, right? If it's a local farmer that uses pesticides, that's fine. They can be in the guide, or
At this point, we have not designated those kind of categories.
that's very complicated.
It's complicated, and I've heard arguments, I mean, just me personally, I've heard arguments that in terms of something like the carbon footprint, it's actually better in the big picture to eat local, even if it's grown with chemicals.
Right.
So, in terms of the guide, and I don't know if that's true, I'm just telling you, I've heard arguments both sides of the coin. In terms of the guide, at this point, we haven't made any specifications like that. In guides that we've used as guides for us, I've seen that the entries themselves designate we're organic, we're what have you.
Yeah.
And so you can tell just by reading it,
Right.
who grows with pesticides or chemicals and who grows organically, and so that's sort of self-designated.
Yes.
I think that's.
No, absolutely. I think this is great. I think it should just be, local farms,
And your
But just so that we know,
Yeah.
and just because it's in the food guide doesn't mean that necessarily they are conserving water. They could be really wasteful with it.
And
So we
part
just
of our, part of the educational piece of it, we want to make the guide as self-evident and consumer-friendly as possible. I mean, the whole purpose is to educate the consumer. So, making that kind of information readily available. We want to move toward that direction. Like I said, initially, we just wanted to get it out, just start the ball rolling, and,
Well, you bring up an
That's
important
great.
discussion that's really actually very going on right now is organic does not equal sustainable.
Right.
And so and what does organic mean? There's all different certifications for that. So I actually think it's probably pretty smart to stay away from that for this guide.
Absolutely.
And
it
then
might
you
be
find-
too
and then-
limiting initially.
Yeah.
And you sound like you've defined local as 4 counties.
Yeah, even that was a major
That's
decision, like,
like-
okay, and even at this brainstorming meeting,
Yeah.
the people from Bentonville, they're much closer to the state border, right?
Right.
So they're like, well, what do you think about Missouri, right? So, or Oklahoma, they have people coming to their markets from Missouri and Oklahoma, really key vendors. So,
So I was
we
in
had
San
to just start
Francisco-
somewhere.
I was in San Francisco recently, and it was so amazing. And and I want to contact the market, the Fayetteville market, and also the Arkansas Health Department. But they had sampling at their market, and it became the most sensual experience because you can taste everything and sample everything. And then they have a food shed map. Food shed maps pasted all over the market, so you can see they've got little dots. They've got this map, and it doesn't necessarily follow any political boundaries. It just maps out where the sources of food. So you could do that actually in there and just map, not judging, just map it out. Say here, these are the ones we've recommended, and here's your food shed if you follow these organizations. And it was really cool because you could see, and then you can see the distance that they had traveled. And
Well, I don't know if you remember, Sarah, but the original thing that I picked up when I went through Asheville was a map.
Yeah.
The fold-out map, like, whoa.
Yeah.
And each place, each entry had their little key.
Had the little dot.
And on the flip side was a whole little
Yeah.
paragraph about what they offered.
So I think that kind of thing could then be a tool to communicate to the Fayetteville farmers market anyway. Say, here, let's do a food shed for our market.
One thing just to remember, and again, we had talked about this originally, and it's in talking about the food shed. When we talk about the proclamation from Mayor Jordan, for instance, this is not just a Fayetteville deal.
Yeah, no.
So just to remember to keep that
This
in
is
mind.
broader.
That's a good point.
So that's what we want to be careful of is it's a broader deal. Fayetteville can proclaimed its support for these efforts. And with the idea that hopefully other communities would do the same kind of thing.
And what about the other mayors? I wonder if you've approached McCaslin or Haynes or Hines, or Doug Sprouse. I mean, they might consider doing the same thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
It's a good point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What other questions do you have for Susan? So the next.
I have one local food question that you may have already said before I got here. What area did you designate as considered local food?
The 4-county area,
When you say 4 county?
Washington, Madison, Carroll, and Ben. Did I say that right before?
Washington, Carroll, and Madison.
Okay, so that's what would be considered local.
That's what, yeah, and
it is.
when we just, I think that's a, common definition of Northwest Arkansas, so we went with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We wrestled over
So
that.
it wasn't how many miles it was away or anything like that? It was
No,
just
we
that.
talked about that, but boy, that gets
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
And when you call it Northwest Arkansas, I mean,
Right, because you're calling
What
it
do you-
Northwest Arkansas, but then I thought if it were local food and you do live in Bentonville, then Missouri
Right,
would be
exactly.
fine.
Maybe
Yeah.
there could be, a committee up in
Bentonville
Bentonville,
who does
Benton
that,
County that
yeah.
would take it over and maybe
Okay.
expand it a little bit
Yeah.
as well.
Okay,
Who knows?
great.
Yeah, and if,
Can we look
Yeah.
at that?
Oh,
Or
sure.
Can you pass that around?
yeah, you want me to just leave it?
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if, for instance, if we move forward with the idea that the markets, for instance, would just list all the vendors that they have, then if Bentonville has growers from Missouri or Oklahoma, then they're going to be considered under the Bentonville market.
Sure.
Yeah, that would be good too.
But our focus in terms of, at least for right now.
Yeah. No,
is
that's, we have to
wonderful.
just define it and then
Yeah.
define it again after it.
and in terms of geology, topology, I don't know, something, southern Missouri, Oklahoma, they're also a little different than Northwest Arkansas, and some of our, they're just, and the kinds of agriculture and the things they do are a little bit different than what we do in this corner, so that also makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for
Yes.
coming.
Good job.
Yeah.
Thanks. I need to run, and I'm sorry, but
No, I'm
I
glad
will
you
be in
came.
touch, and thanks for switching.
Sure. Well, yeah, we're glad to get to have you and get an update. So we'll connect. We'll for sure get you guys connected.
Yeah, I'll be in touch. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay.
Thanks, Susan.
Bye. So we have the folks here from Feed Fayetteville, Adrian Schoenfeld and Denise Garner, and I know that Dina is involved with this as well.
Oh, well, I'm not really
Yeah,
involved
no,
with
okay.
Fayetteville, but
Okay.
I think they're great people, so.
Yeah.
We invite her along.
Yeah.
We invite her to participate.
So, along the same lines, and for all those great reasons that food definitely relates to environmental systems, and so we want to learn as much as we can, and also help make the connections with these kinds of projects and build on those efforts. So Adrian, I'll let you take it from here. We're so
Sure.
glad you're here.
Well, thanks so much for having us. And just to kind of give you a background about why Feed Fayetteville was founded, Denise founded it because do you want to tell your story about why you founded it?
I can do that.
begin with?
Hershey and I both have been involved in Fable nonprofit work for 22 years since we moved here. And so because of that, we were invited to the governor's task force meeting after Arkansas was named the #1 state in child hunger. And so I went down to the Little Rock meeting, really thinking that I would talk my philanthropic Northwest Arkansas friends into helping the poor kids in the Delta. And lo and behold, we got to the meeting and were handed the statistics, and Washington County has more hungry children than any place in the state. So obviously we were pretty devastated by that, and came back and decided we wanted to do something to alleviate food insecurity in Northwest Arkansas, and especially in Washington County and Fayetteville, since that's what we know the most. So we started Feed Fayetteville really through, or with the thought that we would include our restaurant and some of the other local restaurants that use local farms and local producers to see if we couldn't work out some food rescue and some gleaning and some distribution spots. And so by the time we actually decided we would have a meeting, and we had a meeting, we ended up with about 40 people in the community that joined this meeting that had nothing to do with restaurants, but had a whole lot to do with hunger issues. So we kind of put the gleaning food rescue on the back burner and started working with some of these other groups that were doing some great things with education and hunger and distribution and community meals and all kinds of things, but really didn't know what the other groups were doing, and so there was a lot of duplication of services, and we didn't feel like there was great stewardship with the funding that was being asked for. And so Feed Fable then decided, this committee decided that we would start a group to first make everyone aware of the issues, and then also try to work together to collaborate with multi-nonprofits and see if we could work together to alleviate hunger and also work within the network of the community producers. So with that, I'll turn it over.
So it started as, alleviating hunger, which that is the main goal, but in creating food security, it's not just about the emergency food, which is very important for people who need it now, but we also want to cultivate a sustainable food system to where so that was our mission statement, to alleviate hunger and create food security by cultivating a local food network. So there's all these great groups already doing the work, but our goal is to help connect them, unify them, just like it happened tonight with the local food guide, publicize what other people are doing. For example, if you're doing something, but I know somebody over here doing similar things, unite people together. So we formed a lot of connections with a lot of people. With Appleseeds, we've been helping with the healthy cooking classes. They're also involved in the Farm to School program, which we're partnering with the Fable Public Schools, Appleseeds. We're also, university, we've been working with lots of different departments at the university, the Office of Sustainability, with composting, food rescue. We're trying to work with the Department of Social Work, ag law, sociology, horticulture, and even just a small example on the campus of U of A, I find when I'm talking to somebody in the social work department, they don't know about what the ag law department is working with food policy. So it's just, our goal in Feed Fayetteville is to be the thread that ties everybody together to really help create this network of the food, everything that food involves. Just to tell you a few other things, so I feel like today I'm here just to tell you about what's going on in the community with food. So the farm, that's the Cobblestone Project. We are partnering with them right now. Their goal is to grow 20,000 pounds of food this summer, and they donate half of it, and the other half is funded through a CSA. So we are partnering with them to do some canning classes, food preservation classes to help add an educational component, not just to donate the food, but also to teach people while donating the food. At the Table, that's an organization up in Rogers that does meals where they will actually show up in a neighborhood, set up tables. They'll put out little flyers the week before, and they'll provide a meal for people, a community meal with the whole philosophy of bringing people together for community. So working, just for example, I was meeting with the Presbyterian Church, and they were wanting to do a weekend meal because here in Fayetteville we've got community meals 5 days a week, but on the weekends we'll let people go hungry because there isn't a weekend meal all the time. So I've tried to connect those two together because At the Table wanted to come to Fayetteville and they do weekend meals, so trying to connect them with a church that wants to do it. So it's all about just forming partnerships. We're working with the Community Garden Coalition to promote SNAP gardens. This is kind of our vision for food security. You need education, advocacy, collaboration, outreach, accessibility, and fundraising, because it does take money to do these things. So like Denise was talking about, we want to write grants to fund several projects at the same time and really help people get, you know, because I know I've also worked in nonprofits for a long time, and I know that it is hard to, you have to wear a lot of hats, and it's hard to do outreach and fundraising and actually get the work done at the same time. I guess some other projects that we've done in the past, we've done the Hunger in the Land of Plenty panel discussions. The first one focused on education. We have one coming up at the Dig In Festival. It's March 3rd, 9 a.m. I hope you can come to it. And the title of this one is Cultivating a Sustainable Food Network. The panelists will be the mayor and Kevin Fitzpatrick from the sociology department at U of A, Kurt Rahm from the Department of Horticulture, Lucy Kagan with Apple Seeds, Mariah White is a local farmer, and then myself will be on the panel talking about how to create this sustainable food network. So we hope you all can come to that. Another project we're working on right now is promoting SNAP gardens, and what that means is people can use their food stamps for the purchase of seeds and food producing plants. So we're teaming up with the Fayetteville Community Garden Coalition to, our main focus is South Fayetteville, the Walker Park, and the Jefferson Gardens. We're going to try to do a SNAP demo garden there, and actually just had a phone call yesterday from a lady that is on SNAP benefits and wants to garden, so we're going to teach classes to people. So that's one of our projects that we're working on right now. And like I said, we've done the farm to school. We're just partnering with the Fayetteville Public Schools and Apple Seeds for the farm to school. They did 3 schools in October. They're about to do 3 more in the next few weeks. They're doing Leverett, Asville, and Washington coming up, and then also another exciting program is for the summer healthy lunches. There's a farm to school pilot program that's going to happen this summer. They received a grant through SARE, so they're going to be feeding about 800 kids a day using local foods. So that's exciting. And these are some of the past. We've done Food for Fees. This is an awareness trying to get. We do also occasionally we'll do some food drives, and we try to donate it to the local life source or the community meals around town. So I think that we try to connect the food shed through all aspects of it, through advocacy, fundraising, I think that mainly our Facebook page, we hope that everybody goes to it and posts anything that has to do with food at any time. A huge project that we'd like to start, we're actually gearing up to have a meeting to talk about food rescue, because that is a huge issue, and we throw away a lot of food all the time, and we can feed people with this food. So we're about to do some food rescue. We went down to Potluck in Little Rock, which is a food rescue organization that they have this warehouse, and you can kind of see down that bottom picture. It's I don't know how many, 4,000 square feet maybe?
I don't think it's even that much. It's probably 2,500 square feet.
Yeah, it's not that big, but they just have some freezers around the side and a walk-in, and they'll go to UALR and local restaurants and anybody that has food that's been prepared but not served anybody, and they get it, and then they'll bring it to this warehouse, either freeze it, redistribute it to the local food banks and to the meals around the Little Rock area. So we're using that as a model, and we'd like to start something like that up here in Fayetteville. Just to give you an example, you can see Carlos Ochoa in that picture. He's the U of A. He's at the campus of sustainability, Office of Sustainability, and he found out that Chartwell's does 10,000 catered events a year. So you can imagine, even if there was one plate of food left over at those events, that's 10,000 plates of food right there. And so
one thing we'd even like to, and this is something else we were talking about the environment earlier, one of the things we'd even like to expand, that Potluck does not do composting, but I went to an event this week where there were probably 5 or 6 tables that were set up with 10 people each, that the salads and the desserts and everything, but the main course was already set up, and once it's set up, of course, it can't be served again, even with the Emerson Good Samaritan law. But that could all be composted. Every bit of that could be composted. So one of the things that we'd like to do is not only work with the food distribution side of it, but also a composting program. So so the food waste would be distribution and composting. So there's a lot of that.
Is the university doing some of that?
We're working on that. We're working on that with Carlos. And you can't tell in that picture, but in the picture we had, NCAT was there, Energy Corps, the university, local farmers, Feed Fayetteville.
And the city was represented.
City was represented. So there were a lot of folks that, well, we've got these 3 big events in the next 2 weeks, and then the next project is the panel for food rescue.
Right, and so yeah, a lot of this, you guys know, but obviously ways that we can support food security, it's all interrelated, just like everything in life. You can do what you can, and then everybody works together. And like I said, the goal of Feed Fable is just to connect everybody doing work in the food industry and help. We produce enough food to feed everybody here. We just have to make sure we get it to the right people at the right time and don't waste. So, just some of our events that are coming up. We've got, like I said, the healthy cooking class. The next one's a Mardi Gras style, and it's at Owl Creek. It's free. Anybody can come. Then there's the Farm to School events at Asbel Leverett, Washington. We've got, we'll also be on the panel for the Sierra Club, and it's titled Seeds of Change, Promoting Healthy Community Through Food Choices. It's the same week of Dig In. It's the Tuesday night, and it's at the library. So that's another event that everybody should try to come to. Dig In, the whole festival will be wonderful. Everybody should come to that. And then we will have a panel at the festival that Saturday morning to kick it off. Our panel is free, but the festival does cost. It's a donation for $30 for the weekend. And then some other, so the fundraising aspect, we do have to have funds to help us. So Foam Fest is May 5th, and that is, all the proceeds will benefit Feed Fayetteville at the Washington County Fairgrounds. And then also the Roots Festival, some of the proceeds.
Oh, good.
Black Street Party.
Nice. And then we will be tabling at Block Street also, so yeah.
Super. Thank you.
Good
job.
I don't know why. I don't have it. What is Farm to School?
Well, so the goal is to try to keep the money that Adam Simmons spends on produce for the public school system. He spends $600,000 a year, and most of it goes to California right now. So Farm to School basically just it's like having local food at your for school lunches.
Okay.
But it's a national movement.
It's a national
Sure.
Right.
I guess I never heard it.
So our goal, is it
stated
100
like that.
miles? Is that what they're trying to go for as far as the farmers that they're looking for? Or is it even?
I don't think there's necessarily a mile count on that. It's just as much local as they can. So some of the farmers too might be coming from Missouri or Oklahoma.
Lisa Jenkins used to be the nutrition director of that. She used to live across the street from me. She started that at Washington for a year, and then they found that they had trouble. So one thing I think it sounds like you're doing, it's great, is sometimes farmers that aren't hooked to industrial markets have trouble finding markets. So they go to a local city market, like a Fayetteville Farmers Market, but there are these markets that are available that they don't often know how to network with.
Right.
And that's what she found. She just had trouble getting a hold of farmers in order to supply enough food to the school. So it's not that the food wasn't there.
To know that
Exactly.
Friday we're
Yeah.
having apples and it goes with this.
and get the
And that's what
menu
we're
out.
starting now for next year, so that Adam can talk to the farmers and say, this is what I need for.
Right.
So that kind of broader network.
Yeah, the whole logistics of
creating
it
the
is
markets, basically.
is really, it seems so, oh yeah, we'll just go ask that farmer to sell us his carrots.
It's
and
a
it'll be
huge
great.
project.
But
You
it's a
guys,
logistic nightmare,
these guys are doing
you
a
know.
great job, and it's also a U of A project. So the U of A and Fayetteville Public Schools and Fable and Appleseeds are all working on it together.
KUAF is also.
But
a partner.
it's a big trust issue, you know, Adam has to know that the farmers are gonna be able to get him what he needs, and the farmers have to know that they're gonna be able to get a decent price for what they're producing, so it's a big deal.
And we have, the school district has an Energy Corps member, Sammy Jones, is working on a lot of this farm to school stuff. So doing a lot of research too with market prices and how to build those relationships with the farmers. So the idea is that this summer will be the pilot for it, and also thinking about some of those preservation techniques as well. That's something, how much can we freeze, how much, if any, can we can, so that it can be used throughout the school year. Because that's one of the challenges too, is just seasonality of when the food's available. It's not necessarily when kids are always around.
And then the apple seeds program, I've always felt has done a good job, and I know others too, but then you have to teach the kids so that it's not all going from the tray into the trash.
Right.
Because it's not what they're used to having.
Right,
And
and
so,
there's an education component.
Yeah,
There's
there's an education component the week
Yeah.
before, and then we also have lunch buddies that actually go in and sit with the kids and talk to them about what
Oh,
they're
that's
eating
great.
and how they're eating
That's
it.
good. That's great.
Right. A lot of the children, the last farm to school we served pumpkin soup with toasted sunflowers, and we served chicken drummies.
Chicken what?
Drummies, little chicken
Drummies.
legs, and all local from little portions, and sauteed squash and a berry cobbler. And I knew that we'd have some issues with the pumpkin soup and even some of the squash, but the question that was asked more and more and more was what to do with the chicken. They had never seen chicken on a bone. They didn't know what that chicken leg was because they're used to eating chicken nuggets. And so they didn't know how to get the meat off of the bone. First of all, they didn't know what it was. And then they didn't know how to eat it because they'd never seen chicken on a bone. So,
So that's the
that was a little
distinction
surprising
between
for me.
Ecosystems and humans.
Exactly.
Right,
Exactly.
and I've always said the best way to get a child to eat a vegetable is let them pick it out of the garden themselves. If you put it on their plate, they're not going to eat it. But if they're out in the garden and they've grown it and they have ownership and pride in it, then
We're actually starting at Head Start. We're trying to start Head Start gardens, so that we're starting at that young age.
And we have some of those in the public schools too. You might tell them about Owl Creek, which is just wonderful.
Yeah, well, and we have gardens at about 8 schools now within the school district. So growing vegetables, and we now have 2 greenhouses in the school district as well. So we can really reinforce those growing techniques and get kids out there and growing throughout the year and reinforcing growing and eating together.
The Fable Public Education Foundation has given a grant for the rooftop greenhouse for the high school as well. So
Did
they
you
give
know
a
that?
I didn't know
That's
that.
awesome. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
big
I did
greenhouse.
not know that either.
Greenhouse at the
Very
high school.
cool.
I'm not sure.
Wow,
I knew that was being discussed. I didn't know
And so
that.
there'll be a rooftop.
wonderful.
It's exciting.
That is exciting.
Is there, in talking about local agricultural production, are there discussions of like sustainable practices in those areas? Like how does that talk
the
about
summer
another-
program, I know that's part of the stipulation, right? Am I correct on this? That they have to practice sustainable growing methods, not necessarily be certified, but just have sustainable growing.
No chemicals, not.
Yeah, and that's part of where the University of Arkansas Horticulture Department is helping educate farmers for the Farm to School program about what those sustainable practices are. And that's part of the grant funding too, because it's a SARA grant, which is Sustainable Agriculture Grant.
and I know the Cobblestone Project Farm, they also try to engage or use sustainable farm practices. That's been a big deal to them as well.
And Tricycle, most of them are and where we're not actually teaching those things, we're connecting people to those sustainable practices and making sure that their course is being taught with SOG's doing some for us.
That's right.
So there's several opportunities to learn more about sustainable practices in farming.
Well, so full disclosure here, so I'm, in my everyday job, I'm the food, beverage, and agriculture sector manager for the Sustainability Consortium. And so I'm often, like right here, I have this report in my bag, it's called the Sustainable Ag Initiative, and it's it's a European initiative, but they have a whole suite of sustainable agricultural practices that they've researched and then are recommending. And so I'm often working with these kind of more global initiatives, but I'm really interested in bringing the Sustainability Consortium local, like bringing in this local knowledge to inform. So the University of Arkansas is an agriculture land grant university. And so how can we tie all that into these global efforts with this local application? And so I need to also connect in that way with you all.
Absolutely.
And Fayetteville is recognized. I met with a girl that's an ag law student. She came from Tuscany, and her professor sent her to Fayetteville to study the local food movement here and the roots of democracy in the local food movement. So Fayetteville is making its mark on the map, definitely.
One of the most exciting things, we just, not 2 weeks ago, I guess, or 3 weeks ago, we got back from the SOG conference, the Southern Region SOG conference.
Working group.
Yes. So Southern Region of SOG group met in Little Rock, and one of the most exciting things for me was to see, in all of our literature it says that the average age for farmers in the U.S. is about 57. But what happened at the Sustainable Agricultural Working Group is that we saw, because it is all sustainable practice, we saw tons of young people there. And so there's lots of hope that I think the sustainable practices are going to be happening more and more, especially with young people. And having young,
It's new practices, yeah.
Exactly. And the other thing was that we went to a variety of classes for this week-long conference, and what happened was we found out that Northwest Arkansas is already doing so many of the things that they were telling us about. So we really are ahead of the game in the local food movement. So you should be proud of yourselves and the city, and everybody's doing a great job in getting the local food movement pushed ahead. So it was good.
Well, good. Any other questions for?
I have I'm sort of heading up a one-day food feeding people kind of project for my civic organization, and we're partnering with another group too, and we've done it through Seven Hills in the past, which is great, but that's not everybody, and you're doing it on a day when people aren't used to going there, and so you've just made me think maybe I just need to call you, because it would be a weekend meal, and so does that sound like what I should do?
We've got several people. That's what happened in this meeting we had, in this very first meeting, when everybody stood up to say why they were there and what they were interested in their projects. We had 3 different people that said, we're interested in trying to raise money for a food truck so that we can go deliver meals. And so if 3 tiny organizations went to the Walker Foundation or the Walmart Foundation and asked for that, chances are they're not going to get them. But if all 3 of us went together and asked for one truck, we could probably do that. Right. So that's exactly what we're trying to do, and there are several groups that are interested in that weekend feeding at a distribution center for the weekend. So
okay. Well, then I'll call you, because it seems like it would be more effective and might pull in more people, or there might be a more central location.
Are you a member of the Feed Fable group?
Yeah, I am actually.
That's also a good way, and you can just blog on there basically, or just comment on there that you want to do something, and chances are you'll get a whole ton of people that want to help.
Okay, because one of the groups will bring the food and we'll do the serving. We just need to know where's the most effective place for us to be.
Right.
Okay.
Very good. Well, thank you very much.
Yes, thanks.
So I think we have some things we want to follow up on. Some of us want to connect with and continue to engage. And for the next meeting, I think we'd like to try maybe some energy topics, right? The energy code discussion was kind of put on hold because of the position. John Coleman's position is open, so the sustainability and strategic planning position. And so that was kind of put on hold because of that. So we'd like to learn about that, and as well the stormwater utility, and learn just the status of that. So either March or April we can switch those topics. Does that sound okay? Depending on where we are with the energy code? Okay.
I think this I spoke with Leaf
Okay.
in the department, and he was under the impression, I think, that the energy code was going to go to the city council either late March or early April. So maybe
Okay.
if we could try and get that on next
In
month.
March, okay, so let's do that then. And then are there any announcements as far as, I know we've had some announcements as far as dig in for sure, the second and third. Any other announcements on your projects or your things that you're doing?
I would just reiterate on Dig In, it's gonna be good, and the FCGC, Fayetteville Community Garden Coalition, hosts an annual seed swap, and this year they're partnering with Dig In. So Saturday afternoon, it'll be a community-wide seed swap. People can bring seeds, we encourage open pollinated heirloom varieties, but really any kind is fine. And swap seeds, we also actually have gotten donations, I'm part of FCGC too, but we've gotten donations from some of our national seed companies, including Southern Exposure and Baker Creek and some of our really good ones, so that should be really good. And I'm also actually doing a session at Dig In too, so
All right.
come to that. I think it's at 1 o'clock on Saturday.
So one of the things that you all brought up at and I sent out that memo, the things you want to focus on was outreach. And so with these kinds of events and these kinds of activities, so one of the things we can leave here and tell our friends, but also inform the council that these things are going on. So can we go around and say who's going to contact which council member and let them know that Dig In is happening, as well as, I think the next one was, well, maybe we can do that as it comes closer. But the next one for sure, Dig In, and you can tell them we've been talking about local foods, and that this is a good opportunity to learn more.
Yeah, Sierra Club is also doing the Seeds of Change, and that's before Dig In.
That's right before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell them to check out the local foods
Yeah.
guide.
Local foods guide and Dig In. What you can do is, well, you can go to the website and send them all a note. Does that sound like, I think that's part of our role, is to keep them informed of these types of activities, and I think them being myself as well. I just get to be here, so I heard about it, but you can include me if you want to remind me to attend. One thing as far as an announcement, last night I had an opportunity to go to the ADQ public listening session for the Regulation 2, which is surface water in Arkansas, and that is just the beginning of the process for informing ADQ about the regulation, and after a series of meetings and steps, they're going to then report to the EPA about either leave it the same or make these amendments, and then but there is a huge opportunity to make some big changes to this and also keep them from making changes. There's a lot of industry out there that may want to make changes, and as individuals we may or may not like that. So it's time to speak up on that. Now Aubrey was there as well, and videotaped it too.
Yeah, it clips, so every speaker, you and I have separate shows.
Having a
Because
show.
I shot them in clips, so it doesn't take so long to load them up.
So you can see what the different
Yeah,
people said.
so-
Thank you for
Yeah.
documenting that.
Is that on your blog, Aubrey?
You can link from the blog, but if you go to YouTube,
okay.
I've got a all unique YouTube channel.
Gotcha.
You go on YouTube. So.
All unique.
So anyway, I mean, those people were very passionate from out of town. Some people who moved over there to the national forest hoping to enjoy clean water, and finding out fracking was nearby, and earthquakes occurred, and so it was.
Yeah, and you can go to their website and find out when the different times are and locations around Arkansas that these are. Batesville, I believe, is the next one.
And you can
Well,
also just
it's-
submit recommendations online through email and stuff, so
Yeah.
you don't have to make it to a meeting.
have to
You can-
attend. Yeah. So just be aware that that's happening, and it can affect. I mean, a lot of our Fayetteville has so many streams. And it's part of our trail system, it's part of our tourism, it's part of our economics, it's part of our drinking water. So it does affect us. And So it's good to pay attention to that. It's every 3 years that they review this regulation, and the Clean Water Act primarily focuses on surface water, and that's something that I personally think is not good enough. And that our groundwater and surface water is directly connected, and so it's important to learn about those things and speak up about it, because it's our drinking water. It's also what we spray our food with, right? Speaking of food.
Well, Sarah, Sierra Club's also submitting information on the Forest Service plan that will change vast amount of woodland, as Tom McKinney says, moist woodland.
Is that on the ADQ?
No, it's not on ADQ, but it's on the Forest Service.
Forest Service, so people could go and learn
But they
about
would
it.
get rid of lots of hardwood, lots of understory, of diverse needs of the animals, the native plants for native animals, and end up with a more savanna-like national forest. And the reason is they want to help spread those non-native elk brought in the western part of our country. Elk were native here, but not the species that they turn loose over there on Game and Fish Commission land and part of the Buffalo River. And
Those aren't Arkansas elk?
no, the Arkansas elk were like that.
I didn't know that.
So actually the white-tailed deer are probably, they were imported. Although there were a few places in Arkansas and Louisiana that were some remnant population. But when I grew up, I remember I didn't see a deer till I was 18, I think. And I think I was 12 when I saw a wild turkey. And I mean, I was with a dad who took you to the wild places, so they were being restocked in Louisiana and Arkansas kind of time. So anyway, the elk habitat would be counter to all the things that we consider important about woodland. And the point to make about the moist woodland, almost rainforest. I mean, people from the West Coast have told me, this is a wet rainforest. If they come at the right time of year and admire what's going on. But is that the management with fire to prevent forest fires is not the same level of need here that it is on the West Coast. And as long as we have an average rainfall that's credible, as it is now, protecting from most forest fires, then we don't need to destroy all the understory. We can still leave dead wood in our forest for the insects that need it, and hollow trees for the critters that live in them. So Forest Service every now and then has to have come to reality from the people.
Yeah, so so to keep in mind, people can learn more about that at the Forest Service website.
Yes.
And so please do go see that if you're interested in that.
It's a procedure that's coming fast.
Yeah, and there's only a short amount of time to comment on that kind of thing. But so if there are any other questions or comments, I want to try and respect your time. And
I just, on the water quality thing, it is really important. Well, I remember one time I was going for a hike near a river, and it specifically said, do not swim in the water. And I was just, I've got dogs that love to play. I'm like, this just is horrible. And if that happened around here, you couldn't get in any water source, can't go canoeing, that's just terrible. So.
It would be terrible to be walking down our trail system and have a sign that says you can't let your dog drink out of the trail, and that's happening places. So and the only way it's not going to happen is if we speak up and keep speaking up. And there will never, as I understand it, there will never be a time we won't have to speak up. I'm just giving in to that.
Speaking of speaking up, is there anything else going on about 265?
Okay, so 265, I brought it up at the Water and Sewer Committee. Chris met with the 265, the Highway Department has really torn up that area, and I'm not pleased with it, and I was not pleased with it at the Water and Sewer Committee. Chris met with the Highway Department. They said they wanted to come in quickly and get out, and
Justin Tennant was on, is also on water and sewer, and he was also saying that he's been hearing from people and
good.
that it's just, and what I said was, people in this town care about how the highway department manages their construction areas, and it's just, they said that, well, we have a SWEP plan, which is a stormwater management protection plan, but there's a gap between the plan and the implementation. They're not happening. There's no silt fences, there's no straw, and so that's a place where all of you can be contacting the council, the mayor, and be pushing on and you can also contact the state, because the problem is it needs to be okay for our staff to demand that the state follow those rules. They need to feel safe to demand that, and I'm sensing that they don't know how to balance those relationships, because it's a delicate relationship between the state highway departments and the city crews. It's just they have to get along, but they don't always agree, and so showing that there's community support for demanding that in Fayetteville we want you to follow the regulations, and like basically support Chris when he's going to negotiate with the state people, saying this community wants you to do this. And what I would like to see is, we won't partner with you unless you follow these regulations, because that's a cost share agreement along there, and we're widening that road together with them, and part of that is the utilities, and they too need to be following the plan. So
There doesn't seem to be a spokesperson on the other side. I
we don't. It's a blonde. I have no idea who it is.
Well, I know. I don't think there is one. So that's why I don't think people know who to go and
I don't know.
Demand. You know, because the city says it's out of our hands.
The other person is our state legislators for our district, and so that's who I've gone to next. Is talk with. Greg Letting would be one to talk with. So I think it's not going to be an easy thing, because that's an ongoing constant, and at the city level too. It's with our departments are very knowledgeable about it, but sometimes in implementation it doesn't happen. So, but that's getting better, but it takes constant pushing.
Okay, so continue with the city council and just the locals, right?
And then state reps.
Okay.
Well, you could call a highway commissioner. Highway commissioners appoint 10 years by the governor. That means they often serve under 2 different governors over the years.
That's a good idea. The highway commissioner.
And
it is around
they are independent of, unlike most agencies. Arkansas gave it a fish, and the highway commission were made independent, constitutionally created agencies with boards that were independent of the legislature, because back in the day, you wanted a road in your county, then you used your power, and if you had more power monetarily and so forth. The same thing with wanting more deer stock in your county, or various other, allowing more turkeys to be killed in your county. So the commissioners on that board could stop some of the bad practices.
Okay, well, that's a good idea. So I need to learn how to learn that as well. Do you have that, Aubrey? Do you know who that is?
Dick Bramwell's the highway commissioner.
Who is?
Dick Bramwell.
Right
Oh,
now,
he is?
In this region.
In this region.
And former,
Okay.
we've got somebody in the legislature
Now I
right
know.
now that was the highway commissioner.
Just another quick thing.
Okay.
Can we ask for an accounting every so often of what they are doing? I mean, can the people of Fayetteville say, we want to know what you're doing in order to,
The highway department?
whoever it is out there that's tearing up everything?
Well, that's the state
the
highway
state
department.
highway department. That's what I thought.
Because that is a highway, and that's the thing in Fayetteville. A lot of our roads, actually all the roads that are under construction right now, are highway shared partnership, and the city doesn't actually get to do anything until they get done, and then we do the city sidewalk and that kind of stuff.
Well, the same thing's true of Cato Springs Road. People are very unhappy down there, and it's down on 260. That's also 265, and 265 north is more visible, and it's getting
And the highway commissioners have really big regions. So like Dick Trammell's region, you know, he's also pulling for the Bella Vista bypass. And it, you know, they have to cover a lot of territory, so.
But it's better practices in managing the land and in protecting the watershed when you're doing the work. They can demand more there.
Yeah. Well, that's
And
a great
more
idea.
communication,
Yeah,
too.
right.
More communication about it.
Okay.
All right, so we have some people we were gonna contact. Council about the festival, and then, if you so choose and you want to, reach out to the highway commissioner and talk about best management practices in road design.
Yeah, communication.
Communication of their projects. All right. Well, I learned so much tonight.
I did too, really
Thank
good.
you so much.
Thank you.
Exciting time
Thank
tonight.
you.
Yeah, and I look forward to, we'll maybe come back around and we'll learn some more about those projects and see what else we can, and if we can help to connect with other groups, that'd be great. Thank you for coming. All right, good job, everybody, thank you. We'll see you, and we are adjourned.